To do the slabs, we'll want to go to the slab tool, this one just up here. We'll hold in spacebar and you'll see a blue line appear around the outside of the actual building. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to click. It doesn't look like anything's happened, but if we go into 3D, double click our middle mouse button and we pan on up, we'll see that we have a floor now throughout the entire structure, which is pretty cool. The only thing is the garage height is in reality lower than the height of the rest of the building. So to do this, to change it so it's more accurate, we'll just go into 2D again. We'll take the slab and we'll use our split tool, this one just up here, and we're going to split this slab off the rest of the slab. Now this one, we're going to reshape it just so that fits in just here, like that. Yep. And then we're going to reshape this other slab that we just created here so that we're not overlapping with the two different slabs. That one and that one. And if I go down a story to my measure up, I'll just have this measurement here, 675 ground to garage. So that's the height difference between the two. To do this, I'll just go back up to the story and I'm going to select the slab that we created and I'm going to go minus 675 and I'm going to go enter. Nothing appears to have happened here on the screen, but if we go into our 3D, again, double click, and we'll notice this one has moved down. To get the walls to do the same thing, I'm just going to select all of this and deselect our slab and our text. And I'm going to do the same thing on this left-hand side. Your palette might be up top here, but it's this palette here. And again, we're going to go minus 675 and hit enter. Let's check it out in 3D. Yeah, that's looking more accurate. Now let's give it a look from the outside. So this is the building here at the moment. So it's slab on ground pretty much there at the moment. But as we get further across to this area here, if we go across in the photos, we'll notice that the slab goes all the way from here all the way to the ground. So to emulate this, what I'll just need to do is increase this slab size so it meets the bottom one. So I'll just grab this edge node here and I'll just bring this one on down. Now, if we did have a survey, it would be far more accurate to actually get the FFLs around the building, but just to get the building to match up, so it matches with the existing building for the time being with the information that we have, we'll just drag that one on down. We'll also draw in this patio here in a sec. But before we do that, we'll also want to grab these walls here from the garage. These ones just here. We'll deselect our slab and we'll want to change the settings for these so that they're not 2450, which is the height that we've got set for the internal walls inside. We'll want to set it as 3040, which is the height that we measured on site. Just there. And if we go into our 3D there now, then yes, it should all pretty well match up. So this has been set down, the walls have been extended up, and it's starting to get closer to what it looks like in real life. I'm just going to change the material of these posts real quick. I'll select all these. I'll change it from wood deck to a render A. There we go. That'll make it look a little bit cleaner already. All right, let's do the patio as we just did mention. I'll just go back to our drawing. All right, I've just gone ahead and I've drawn that up with the slab tool, done another slab here. I'm just going to offset this down so that we can emulate that step, which is say about 190. And then I'll grab the slab and I'll grab both these slabs and I'll bring these on down 190 as well. That one's actually 195, so I'll bring that down another 5 mil. There we go. And then I'll go ahead and grab these slabs and I'll bring them so they match up with the bottom of this one just here. There we are. Now, in reality, this step here doesn't comply with the National Construction Code. If this was a proposed step, we'd need to add in an additional step so that it can actually get in below that 190 millimeter maximum rise. But we're just drawing up what the existing situation is on site, so we're not going to worry about it. I'll go ahead and extend these posts on down too. There we go. That's looking more accurate to what we have on the picture. All right, so we've got our walls, windows, we've got our doors, we've got our slabs, and we've even set them to the correct heights. Next big win that we'll want to get is our roof. The roof for this one is going to be a bit of fun because we've got so many different walls jutting in and out. But if we use the roof tool, it's going to make this so much easier. So let's go to our roof. This one just here, and we'll make sure that it's set to geometry method multiplane. Now what we could do is just hover our mouse over the exterior wall and just click once. That's going to create our roof. It's relatively close, but there's a few things that we'll need to tweak. So I'm just going to adjust this one so that it's set to our parameters where we've got the roof line shown, but not the rest of the actual roof. I'll make a dedicated video on this because there are a few steps to it. From here, I'm just going to set this one to the actual roof story itself. And that way, if we say go into 3D, double click, our roof has been set above. Now we'll want to go to our project map and we'll go into our story settings, we're going to change this one so that the ground at first and the first floor are 0. We'll go OK. This is just part of the base template and something that we can adjust as we go. So with that now set, we've got our roof and it's sat down on top of our walls. But if we go back into 2D and then go back to our floor plan itself, ground floor existing, I'll just change these pens so that they're not as much of an eyesore. There we go. If we look at the roof lines over here at the moment and then compare them, say, to an aerial shot that the real estate captured, we're going to notice a few differences. So these dashed lines here, where the roof juts out, aren't actually here on the real building. And this is where having an aerial shot can make such a massive difference. So if you don't have an aerial shot, check out Google Maps or any cadastral website that has top-down view of the site. This could be the planning viewer if you're in New South Wales. Anyway, back to the drawing. Now, the way we've done it just here at the moment is good to get us started off, but the pitching point isn't set in the right location because the pitching point needs to be on top of the exterior portion of the stud wall. So to zoom in here, just for a second, this wall here essentially represents a brick veneer wall. This external part just here, this is the brick portion of the brick veneer wall. This middle bit here, this is the cavity, and this bit just here is the actual stud itself. So with your pitching point, you want the pitching point to be on the outside of the stud wall, all along the exterior. So to do this, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to straighten up this roof, first things first, so that it just goes all the way along. Going to adjust this one just up here. There we go. This means that we're going to have a bulkhead throughout this area just here, which if we check the photos, we can see is built into this area just here. So this is where the pitching point comes down to here, and they've essentially bulked in this area just here. Anyway, we won't go into too much detail with that, as we can get into a fair bit of the detail another day. So we'll grab this point here, this node, and this node just over here, and we'll clean up this one just there. Now, to get this so that it's lined up to that stud wall, we'll just want to go to our pet palette and inset all edges. And we'll inset this one till it hits the outside of the actual stud wall. And with that, we should be a little bit closer. So let's check out our 3D. And if we pan up to the top and have a little look down on the actual roof itself, and if we compare this to, say, our real estate image here, we're getting a bit closer. You'll notice here that all the roof lines meet up to one central ridge. So we'll need to adjust this roof plane here accordingly. And that this roof here is straight and it comes up to a ridge point just here. So we'll also need to adjust this. To adjust this, let's grab our post and chuck one just over here. This is in the existing setup. I'm not just adding in a random post. I'll show you in a sec. So it's this post just here. This post is picking up this portion of the roof, and this is going to simplify the roof plane itself. So I'll grab this roof plane. I'll pull out the pitching point until it's in line with this part just here, holding in shift. And then I'll click this node over the top of this node. And there we go. That straightens up that roof just there. I'm just going to drag this post until it's centered to that point just there. Now I should just double check the dimensions. Yep, so that's all right. Now we've got another weird roof plane just here. So it's a similar type situation. We've got another post just here that picks up the wall, and the roof plane comes all the way through here. This is where having those on-site photos is just incredibly important. So we're going to go to our palette and go offset edge, and we're just going to drag it until all that lines up. That's massively simplified this roof plane just here at the moment. Now something interesting has popped up. So we're lined up here at the moment, but we're not lined up with the rest of the walls. So something's happened along the way where we haven't got it offset correctly. So I'm just going to line this node up here, and then I'm going to click and drag this one just until it lines up with that exterior node just there. That, let's check all the other exterior walls, has lined up all of those exterior walls. So that must mean that it's just this one here that needed adjusting. So we'll bring this one back down until the stud meets that one there, and that should be all good. We'll just click and drag this one. The roof planes aren't meeting up here at the moment, like they are just in the image just here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag this ridge point just here and bring it forwards until these points match up. I'm going to give it a 33 degree. 33 is not quite enough, so we'll just bring it forwards until they all meet up. There we go. Let's go into our 3D, and now all our roof planes meet up. Let's go show all. Hey, and there we go. Now this one just here, this is actually a tile roof, so we're going to change the material to a tile. There we go. And this leaves us pretty well solid with our actual roof. Let's check in between. So these roof planes here and here are all matching up. We've got our solid roof plane along here and our solid roof plane and our little jut out. which just leaves one of the most tricky sections, which is this front portion just here, which if we check it out, let's break down these roof planes to their most simple components. So this just looks like it's a hip just here. And then we've got another roof just here. So let's check out our photo from on site as well. So here's our photo and it looks about right. So we've got a hip coming down through here, hip here. It looks like we've just got a gable and another little gable-ish type roof just out the front here. So we'll break this down and we'll create it with a couple of different roofs. So we'll separate 2 new roofs here and just keep this as the primary roof plane just here. So it'll make sense in a second. All right, let's zoom back into our floor plan. All this is kind of muddled up here at the moment. If we go into our 3D, we'll see it doesn't quite match up with what we've got in the photo or on site. So we're going to go back in and we're going to straighten this up so that these roofs here are lined up just like this. There we go. And that should give us much cleaner roof planes. So if we're now to compare this, where we've got a ridge comes up to an apex point just here. Let's see what it looks like in our aerial. Yep, it all meets up to an apex point just here. Then we have the hip come down and then across through here. Roof, yep, comes down and comes down through here. So that just leaves us with these 2 other little ancillary roofs just here. These should be relatively straightforward and easy to make. All we need to do, we'll select our roof. We're just going to, with the multiplane method, we'll select this middle one just here, which is going to allow us to create more of a rectangle. This one just here, we'll tick it at about 2000 for the time being by say 6500. We're just creating a roof plane that we can essentially turn into a gable, just like this gable here. So I'll take the ridge and I'll bring it to the front just here, and I'll just take this back portion and do the same thing. I'll rotate the roof just so we're at 45 degrees. And I'm going to bring it down so it's centered over this foyer. So I'll take this here and I'll recenter it over that one there. All right, let's take a look in our 3D view and see how we are looking. There we go. Cool. So let's take this and compare it to our picture. So we're going to have to increase the pitch a bunch. So we'll massively increase the pitch. And then we'll also duplicate it and create a hip just out the front as well. So let's go back in. Let's change our pitch to say 45 and we'll keep the custom planes. So that's massively increased the pitch. Oops, and I've accidentally dragged it. There we go. And we're also going to want to create a hip roof in front of it as well. So let's go back into that. We'll create a duplicate of this one that we're going to line up with the exterior posts just here. And we're going to select this edge of the roof plane. And we're going to go to this setting just here in the pet palette. And this is going to allow us to change it back to a pitched roof. And we're going to go OK. So now we've got that hip again, and we need to bring these parts back out. So instead of manually doing it, what I'm better off doing is just going to our offset and setting it so that it's doing it automatically, just like that. So I've just selected back and forth between that, and that's popped that back out there. Let's pop back into our 3D and check it out. Now the roof pitch on this is way too high there at the moment, so let's change this back to say a 30-degree pitch, and we'll keep those roof planes custom and see how we look compared to our reference. Getting much, much closer. Now, just looking at these roof pitches, it's a shallower roof pitch than say this one here. So I dare say this has probably been bumped down to something along the lines of about 20, maybe 22.5. So let's go back in, change this to say 22.5. Keep the planes custom, and that's pretty well good. Let's bring it down just so that these points match up on our gutter point just there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trim these columns to the actual roof itself. Let's go target, and we'll select the roof as the operator, subtraction with upward extrusion, and execute. Okay, so next up we'll want to create a wall just in behind and a little highlight window. So let's go back into our floor plan. Lots of lines going on here at the moment. So what I'd probably do in reality, I just put this so it's just on the roof plane, so it's not distracting from the actual floor plan itself when we're trying to actually design. Just looking at my reference, it looks like this wall lines up with this one just here, and the actual face of this all lines up with the wall as well. So I'm going to go ahead and grab this roof and bring it back so it matches up with this face of the wall just here. Go back into my 3D. Yep, looks better already. I'm going to go back into 2D. I'm going to select this wall just here. I'm going to copy it and paste it on the level above. So I've just went Control up and I've just went to the level above and I've pasted that in. I'm going to go ahead and select that wall that I've just done. I'm going to bring it to the front, and then I'm going to grab the doors, delete those. I'll go back into the 3D. There we go. So I'm going to select this and I'm going to go connect, and I'm going to make sure it's solid element operations. So now to crop this to this roof here, we want to go target, select this roof and go add as operator, and we'll go subtraction with upward extrusion and go execute. There we go. And we've got our wall and our roofs. From here, we could go in and add in the actual window itself, but we don't need this level of detail for this concept portion of the plans. And this area might be taken out altogether, so I'm not going to spend the time on something that mightn't get used later down the track. From here, it's relatively simple. We're going to go around through and we're going to add in some gutters. The quickest way I've found to do gutters, I'll just go into the wall tool and I've set up actually a wall that's just a typical size of a gutter. And holding in spacebar, I can just press it once. Now it's just telling me that the operation has gone to a hidden layer. So I'll just go continue. That's because we're on the wrong story. We're on ground to first. Now, if I go up a couple of stories, it's going to show me on the actual roof frame itself. I've got these walls here there now. So if I go into 3D, double click, and then I should have my gutters. Now, if I select grouping and turn it on and bring these down just a little bit, just so that they're underneath this portion where the roof comes down to where the gutter is, then that all works out a treat. From here, again, it's just cropping these to the roof, or you could just bring them down just a bit. There we go. Now to tidy up that roof that I was mentioning just before, I'll grab this roof as well as our other roof that we created, this one here. I'm just going to go to floor plan, and instead of all stories, I'm just going to go home story only, and I'm going to go continue. And it's just going to make it so much easier to read now. There's one more area that we'll want to cover, which is, say, the bathrooms, laundries, walk-in robes, as well as the kitchen. Typically, I'll go ahead, just grab a fill, and I'll go to a bathroom fill. I'll select over the area, and I'll just select both these slabs, and I'll send these to the back. And that will make the fill pop to the front. I'm going to remove this off this section just here, and I'll drag this into our ensuite as well. I'll just cut it off from this portion just here, and that way we've got our ensuite and our laundry drawn up. I'll do the same thing for this bathroom just here. Let's go to that one, and we'll drag that one on down, and we'll crop that one off there. These days, I typically like to have a lighter pen for these areas, just so that it doesn't detract as much from the rest of the plan. It's a bit easier to read, I find. From here, I also want to draw in the bench tops. So if I just select the slab tool, I've got a favorite setup that I've set as kitchen bench, but essentially it's just the height of a typical bench, and it's just a slab. So it bulks in the rough model of what's going on in the room. We're just going to add in a sink, which we're going to do with our symbol. This one just here. So if we go into a symbol, we'll go to, we get to sink, we'll double click, and we'll pop that one in. We'll rotate this one just so it's at 45 degrees and center it into this space just here. And there we go. Now just checking our reference picture, we've got a sink there and we've got our cooktop just here. So let's draw that one in. I'll grab the sink. I'll rotate this one just here till we go to cooktop, this one just here, and put that one in just where we've got that there. Now this entire arrangement might be demolished, so we're not going into minute detail, just enough to get us ready to actually be drawing up the concept. Last but not least, we're going to fill in the bathrooms. Again, we're just going to use some objects. We'll go into some that we've got pre-set up. Going to go to shower, just for this corner shower just here. Toilet, this one just here. We'll rotate this one around. Now the vanity itself comes in like that. Now this bar, I'm not going to go into too much detail. I'm just going to rough this one in because it could take a while to try and get all that accurately modeled up. So we're just going to go like that, and we're going to give it representative text and just go SPA SPA. There we go. That way we're not spending too much time on something that isn't critical to the actual design. And we'll duplicate these now that we've got them placed on our plan, which is going to make us much, much quicker. I'm going to duplicate this one just up here, rotate that around, and just bring this one to here. Last thing is just our laundry, which is going to be laundry sink, this one just here. And we'll go to washing machine. There we go. Grab this one and plop that one in just there. Now with the walk-in robes, I also like to just add a little bit of detail just in through here. So I'm just going to draw a polyline just around here. So it's going to represent the storage space. So we're going to offset all edges here, and we'll recenter that door just there. One last thing. So we'll notice we've got this tiny little ridge slash valley in through here. Just going to make sure this matches up with this point just over here. So it's 10 mil difference. And that's going to save us from having that odd line that just pops down through there. All right, and with that, we've got our existing plans all drawn up, as well as an accurate 3D representation of what's on site, which means we've now got a blank canvas to start our design.